EYNOLWADEN Holidays, July 21st to 27th, 2021. Hosted by Elisa Bernal. July 26th, 2021. EYNOLWADEN is visiting with you. I note with joy that many eternal flames understand and live that they are freedom and joy. According to your language, I would simply say that it is enough to believe in it, in order to no longer believe in anything. It only takes one breath to experience it. You don't need anything, and especially not from you. So yes, I have seen and observed, from the space where I am, that many of you have put an end to your beliefs, to the illusion of the world, to the illusion of the future, to the illusion of the past. And I also saw that it was the end of the lie, of everything I told you during my first interview with you. I saw that you recognized yourselves well beyond the worlds of the dream and illusion. I have seen that many of you live the autonomy of freedom, the autonomy of objectless joy, that many of you have recognized yourself beyond all your stories, all your forms, and all your dreams. I am happy to see that many of you have found the white ether, and have a smile on your face, and have joy in your heart. You have found the truth, and you are living the truth. So of course, around you, a lot of flames are still dreaming. To dream of tomorrow, to be heavy with yesterday, or to be destabilized by what the dreamers who control the dream tell you. But you no longer live the dream, even if somewhere you are inserted into the dream. And you live the great joy at times, or all the time. And you see what's not true. You don't need to walk the lands, because this body still holds you a foot in the dream, because certain habits are still there. But it doesn't bother you to have a smile on your face and joy in your heart. And you know that you are nothing of what you live. You have understood that you are freedom and joy. You have understood that you are outside of all these dreams, and the nightmare of this world makes you smile, even if I understand that it is apparently difficult for you that many dreamers are still dreaming. But eventually you will also laugh about it, because you remember that you too dreamed. But once touched with the finger of the heart, the truth, you can no longer turn back to the dream. Indeed, you are complete. Indeed, we are in each other in the dream. And you notice your lightness, even if sometimes you sigh of these dreamers who dream. But you know you are living the essence of the essential. Every day, every opportunity strengthens you in your autonomy, in your freedom, and especially in the smile. Thus the nightmare recedes, thus the dream is seen as something that is past, and which is frozen today. Whatever the resistances in the dream you go through, you see clearly, and you live clear. And what a feeling of freedom, where there is neither inside nor outside, and where everything is embraced, and where everything is ablaze, and where everything is real. And you find that every day there are more and more of you, whatever the dreamers say, whatever the nightmare says. You rediscover the senses, you experience the senses, beyond the choir of angels perhaps in your ears, beyond what you have unfairly called your obligations. You have chosen the natural, which could not be chosen in the end, but only asked to appear, consuming desires and habits in the same joy. So today you sing with me in the silence of your heart, my name which, I remind you, is freedom. So today, and each day that passes on the illusion of time brings you to the eternal instant of joy, to the eternal present, where you are present and at the same time you are absent. There is freedom, There is joy in where I am, where you are. You are this silence. You are this inexpressible truth which disregards all trappings, all forms, all worlds. Because you live this sublime ignorance where there is no longer any need for knowledge, but simply for your own recognition. It is now, and it always has been. And you have access to that, and you are entirely that. It is life that shows you to see that you are all lives, and that all these lives have only passed in the same moment of the present, in the same moment of truth, where time does not have to be counted or discounted anymore, where time and space merge. No longer being separated by plans, by projects, or by some becoming. I'm happy, on your terms, to be living this in you, to be living this with you. And I've had the information, those in control of the dream told me, that the heresy of the dream is ending throughout the creation, which shows you that the creation lasted only a moment. This moment, which was named initial and final, allowed you to solve the equation. Today you no longer need an equation, but simply to be true. No artifice can seduce you. No desire can keep you away from it. And even if you still seem to be destabilized by what you are going through, you accept your own consumption by yourselves. Here is the joy, joy which does not depend on any world or any form, here or elsewhere. You are the real, both manifested and both never manifested. You thirst for freedom, and your thirst is satisfied by the joy of the moment, by the joy of the present, where everything is defined and at the same time so infinite and so indefinite. You know that you have nothing to plan, that only your character sometimes seeks solutions, so that your own character is not affected in this dream body, in this body of flesh. But you are no longer fooled by those who control the dream. You are no longer fooled by your story. You are no longer fooled by your form, and you recognize yourself in the space of joy, where there is no there, has never been distance, where there has never been suffering, and that ends the suffering of this body and ends the suffering of all history. And you are free. I believe that there is an expression in you that says free as air, the air that fills space, the first emanation of the real and of the dream, but that you are none of these dreams, and that the real is prior to space as it is prior to time. And you discover this like a child who has just been reborn, not in the horror of creation, nor even in the horror of decreation. I told you it was all a game, where your identity appeared, but no identity is true. I come to invite you to celebrate even more the access to the truth, and this translates by your smiles, by the brilliance of your glance on this world, where all is crossed, sufferings like illusions of this character, because now you know it, because here and now you live it. And you know that you are EYNOLWADEN. EYNOLWADEN is free. EYNOLWADEN is formless. EYNOLWADEN is nature itself, and the essence of nature, the very principle of nature on which the dream is based, on which the nightmare is based. But you know, and you live it, that the dream and the nightmare are nothing other than a precise moment of infinity, a particular moment in the eternity of peace. And if you accept it by living it, then you become the acceptance. You become the smile to life and what dissolves in the consummation of the dream, where all history also dissolves, where no scenario is useful or necessary. And you will sink deeper and deeper into that real, where there is no lying, there is no movement, and which constantly includes all movement and all form. You are neither this nor that, and you are equally this and that. And it is precisely because of this that you are nothing which is everything. You don't need anything except to feed what remains of the dream in order to go through with it. This end, which is only the start of the appearance of movement, of the appearance of suffering. You are only freedom, this fire which consumes all that is not true. And you are prior to this fire. But this fire which is born in your heart and in your spirit, which brings you into this supreme joy, frees you each day a little more from all resistance as from all suffering. You realize that you have nothing to do, because doing is also suffering, because doing takes you away. There remains just what is necessary to complete this dream, which in truth never existed. This dream that never existed, these sufferings which were only the means to return to yourselves. To return to yourselves, there where you have never moved, there where you fill up the space, there where you filled all the times, those of wandering like those of the truth. And what joy to live, what joy to feel it, while knowing that you are not this feeling itself. You see more and more clearly, because you see that there is nothing to see, that there is no one to believe, neither inside nor outside. Because the inside and the outside are only two phases of the same dream. Here you are in time, here you are in the place, this place which has no time, and this time which has no place. So my words take you where you have never moved, where you were never born, and where death is simply the game of illusion. It's only a fantasy, it's only the last dream which is nothing but the first, and I rejoice to see your flames burning themselves, here as everywhere, in all the spheres of dream life, in all the suns of illusion. You are that assuredly, and you are not even that, assuredly also. Where words have only one meaning, that of revealing the silence and ignorance of those who were never born. Every birth belongs to the dream, and your birth today puts an end to the dream, which never existed, and which does not need to be destroyed. They are only appearances which bring you back to the real, which bring you back to the source of yourselves. You who are freedom EYNOLWADEN, you who are space EYNOLWADEN, we can laugh together at ourselves, and this laughter will consume those who still persist in dreaming. You know you have no more words that can change them, but your silence becomes eloquence. The eloquence of truth, the eloquence of all movements that are not one, the eloquence of joy, which is great silence at the same time as consumption. We are together, where there is no one, where there has never been anyone, where the light does not need to be manifested, but simply to know where it comes from. The great all and the great nothing are only the same two faces of the dream of creation, where the flame has become multiple, where the flame has forgotten itself, so that oblivion never takes you again, so that all desires are fulfilled. And finally, to verify that there was never any desire, that all that came and all that disappeared in the first breath as well as in the last breath. Then your heart is light, where the heart of the heart takes up all the space and all the time. Assuredly you are there, after having traversed the paths of the eternity of the dream, after having traversed all the forms, the shapeless fills you, the shapeless is true. You have nothing to dream about, you have nothing to omit, and this is how you know that everything is crossed and leads to joy, where you are simple, where you are the essence, there where you are natural. We are that together. We are in this the unique, who has played with multiples, who has played at creating himself, who has played at uncreating himself. You are no longer affected by anything, as soon as joy without an object and without you grows. And freedom is there. You don't have to choose anything, because in truth everything is perfect, even in the greatest of imperfections. You put in place, if I can say, by your character who plays on the stage, the last elements of the puzzle, a puzzle that was never real, and yet where everything fits together and everything is justified. You are spontaneous ignorance where all knowledge is burned by that joy itself. Freedom EYNOLWADEN today is what I see. And as I am not in time, and as I am in space as in non-space, I see all this clearly, that you all will discover that everything is clear, that there is nothing, and that everything is also there. And there, the conscience has no more argument. Your life has no more argument to pursue the dream, neither to hope, nor even to despair, but simply to be there because that is what you have decided, precisely because you no longer have anything to decide, because you no longer need effort, for in truth you are very strong. You are strong beyond all strength. You are strong in silence. You are strong in your presence. You are strong in absence itself, where absence is presence, where presence is absence. Everything it was only the game of doing, the game of action. But why the action? Simply to play, to believe oneself lost, to believe oneself a form. Nothing resists the truth, neither habits nor beliefs, nor injunctions of any world or society whatsoever. Accept it, and you live it. Accept it, and you will cross. And you will realize that you have not crossed anything, that nothing weighs, that everything is light. Whether it be the pen, whether it be the universes, verily they have no weight. In truth, they have no density, they are only a history that has passed, and which at the same time will never pass, because you see that even the fact of passing, that even the fact of crossing is not, it is only the story that ends. This story that was never born. You played, we all played, and in joy, there is no longer any need to play anything, because this joy is what we are, and being as in non-being, in the absolute as in the relative, in the true as in the false, in the good as in the bad, which ultimately does not exist, are only appearances, appearances of suffering, appearances of distance. All of this is not true. All of this is inconsistent. All of that means nothing anymore because you don't need representation. You don't need to be represented. You just have to introduce yourself, where there is nothing to ask, where you expect nothing, where you are fulfilled. We fill each other with the same silence and the same smile. Smile of space and time in their vanity to believe themselves present. This is not true. And yet, everything is true. And only the real shows it to you. The certainty of the real of the lie, here is everywhere, shows it to you and demonstrates it to you without ambiguity and without questioning, putting an end to the questions. Because everything is an answer, because everything is evidence, because everything is real and has only the weight of dreams, has only the weight of illusion, because time and space can no longer be dissociated and are reunited in joy. Ending all consciousness on their own, where you can no longer see or appear, consciousness or unconsciousness, superconsciousness or a consciousness. Consciousness is also the dream, which led to the dream, but which ultimately had to be seen as the illusion of doing and the illusion of evolution and involution. All this for that, you say? And I will answer you, all this for nothing. And to discover that the nothing is the all, that there was never no one, neither EYNOLWADEN of the ether, nor here, you, in your identity of this form. And this is the great joy. And this is the great silence. And this is the one truth, where nothing relative can appear, ending the morbid game of good and evil. This is unity. But it is also well beyond unity. It is simply what is, which finds its source in what is not. What is and what is not is ultimately only the expression of joy, which themselves no longer need to appear, which themselves no longer need to exist, which themselves have no justification. So, yes, you are light within the very density. Right here in this seeming body, you are celebrating what you are. Right here in this body of suffering, you celebrate freedom and you celebrate joy. What you call love, agape, is ultimately what I came to state even before it happens, because agape doesn't have to happen. He emerges from the dream. It emerges from your awareness, present in the here and now, and this is that ending that never began and will never end. It shows you the unreal. This is the moment when everyone recognizes themselves in each other. It is the moment when there is neither. It is the moment of joy, the moment of space, and it is time without time. And that is immediately, if you yourselves accept it immediately. To accept that there is no continuation, and that you did not come from any past, and that you are not going towards any future, because everything is already past and everything has already come, even before being created. Being prior to the dream, prior to time and space, prior to love, it is only you who are true, what hears within this body, and which is not stopped by any story and by no conscience. I address myself to liberty. I address what is true. I address what is. I address myself to what is not. You are that, and you are too all that. There is nothing to throw away, because everything has already been thrown overboard from the vessel of eternity, which you perhaps call, I am told, the body of light, because you are what created this body of light, not dependent on any authority or any constraint. You are free, and you are that. This freedom which has no concept, which cannot have a reference neither here nor elsewhere, just as, in any consciousness, as in any world. Here is the time of the instant, this timeless instant where all spaces are inscribed in the firmament of lies as in the firmament of the real. Be light, because you always have been. Be joy, because you always have been. You are the silence from which the word manifested itself. And you are the word that leads back to silence, in this form as in this heart, just as much as in this flame, just as much as the instant that is. We are that. We are infinitely that. We are that indefinitely. Here and now, at all times of the dream, and in all space of the dream, EYNOLWADEN sings in you. There is no need for rhythm. There is no longer any need for notes, for music. There is no longer any need for form. There is no more need for history. There is no need for yesterday or tomorrow, where you cannot count anything, where you cannot discern anything, except the beatitude of the first and the last breath, the pure bliss of freedom, the pure bliss of joy. It is now. And this now is with each breath of this body, with each theater scene of this world on earth as in heaven, as you name them, as you apprehend them. You have nothing more to hold on to. You have nothing more to suffer. You have nothing more to fear. Fear like suffering are only the antechamber of love. Whatever becomes of this body, whatever the consciousness thinks of becoming, one day you have already come. You were always born in the beauty of truth, in the beauty of essence, in the beauty of what is natural, in the beauty where there is nothing to see. It is the beauty of the great silence, the beauty of now for all creation in the dream of this world, where everything is indexed, where everything has been recorded in the book of life. This book which was closed by Abba, in truth never existed. In truth, there is neither book nor Abba. In truth, there is only you without possible identification. You have nothing to weigh, you have nothing to measure, but simply to accept this, and this is instantaneously, without delay and without time. Everything else doesn't need you because everything else is you, but you don't have to worry about it. Quietness is the end of the effort. Tranquility is the end of hope and, at the same time, the end of despair. This was all just a game related to your game, and the last game is the eternal and absolute game. You have finished playing. You find the joy that is played all the games in order to see that there is no game, in order to see that there is only joy. You are only EYNOLWADEN. You are what you are, but you are not what you are not. Even if you were, it is not, and it never was. It was just what was happening. It was only what weighed. It wasn't you. You in truth, you are freedom. You in truth, you are EYNOLWADEN, where there is no longer any need for the choir of angels, where you do not need company, nor even the slightest landmark, because you are peace. You have always been there, and yet you have never been there. There is no paradox, there is no opposition, but it is simply the beauty of what is true. This is where you are freedom. This is where there is nothing. This is where everything is. And yet you cannot make any difference, because the difference is only an appearance or resistance to what is in the moment, to what is in space. But space is no longer a distance. But space is no longer a time limit. It is simply the support of the dream. It is the support of the form, and you discover and live that you have always been the formless, that no formalism and no constraint can oppose what has always been, long before being, well before light, long before consciousness. This before which is only an after, which realizes that there has never been a before or an after, and that it cannot be named. EYNOLWADEN is the first and last name that accompanied Abba in the myth of creation, consciousness, form, and worlds. So reveal yourself and reveal yourself. How can you fear what you are? How can you fear what still seems unknown to you? And yet who is what has always been known? Don't ask anything. Expect nothing, and you will see what you are, beyond seeing, beyond feeling. You are the origin of all this, of what never began and what never ended. All of these are only words, but which are essence and vibration here, and which are also beyond everything and beyond nothing. Such as freedom, such as joy, and such as the integrity which is also humility, and which is also simplicity. And you are there, in the instant of this instant, at the gates of grace, where there is no longer any gate, and everything is revealed. You don't need anything else because you are fulfilled beyond all desire and all experience. You are that. You are unspeakably that. Accept it, and it will be revealed in full in the instant. You can't lie to yourself forever. You cannot fool yourself. You cannot doubt yourselves. You cannot deny anything, and especially in what is still apparently unknown to you. You are liberty. You are the truth. You are the path which sees that there is no path. You are the love that does not need to be carried because it carries itself. You don't need circumstances because the circumstance of the moment is real. There is nothing else. There has never been anything other than what has always been, and which does not need to be anything other than the instant of the great silence, than the instant of the ultimate, what you named, I believe, absolute. You no longer need to ask words. You are beyond manifestation. Just accept it. Then you will be simplicity. Then you are beauty. Then you are freedom. This is what EYNOLWADEN wanted to tell you today. No longer from this body which expresses itself, but in the silence of your heart. Do not look for meaning in my words because they are much more than words. They are simply the great silence meeting the dream and meeting yourselves. You have always met. You always recognized each other. But you played to forget it. Today, you can no longer deny it because you are confounded by the evidence of simplicity, by the evidence of love. In this, you are. EYNOLWADEN tells you. And because it is said, it is lived. I'm not asking you to believe me, but there too, simply accept it. Open your arms to the unknown. You will see that it is very well known. And it's even the only thing that you basically know, recognize. And that is what puts an end to what is neither beginning nor end. Therein lies the solution to what has never been an enigma. You are what is true, here is everywhere, now is everywhere. Listen and hear what is beyond listening and understanding. What is there? There immediately, without effort, without expecting anything, simply there, simply the present of freedom, the present of grace. EYNOLWADEN, EYNOLWADEN, EYNOLWADEN. Listen, what the great silence tells you. There is the great joy. Silence. I am consumed in you. You consume yourself in me. This is joy. Only that is true. EYNOLWADEN will never leave you again. It was only an appearance that could be expressed from time to time. But it was already there, even before I spoke, and will persist after my silence. Accept it. This is your ultimate strength. This is your only effort. It is now. This is everywhere, because everything is called to live this. So I could tell you that I love you. I could tell you that I bless you, but you are the love and the blessing. I thank you for listening to you. I thank you for having understood yourself in the time of this instant, in the space of all spaces. Joy and joy, you pilgrim of the dream. You, creator of yourself, make no more effort. Just be there, and you will be everywhere. And you'll see that you're nowhere, and it makes no difference. You are the unspeakable. We are that. EYNOLWADEN is silent.